Hello and welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Karim Zimik. Here are the headlines. BNM holds protests against enforced disappearances in Balochistan. Popular animation character Gundam attracts visitors in Japan. And Indian Buddhists celebrate birth anniversary of saint amid pandemic in Ladakh. Let's begin the show. In what is being referred as country's biggest achievement till date since the pandemic outbreak, India is inoculating around 6 million people every day now. Since the launch of the new phase, when country jabbed nearly 9 million people on day one, India's vaccination drive has picked a fresh momentum and has been able to stabilize the situation against a rapidly mutating coronavirus, a report.
Nearly 9 million people were inoculated with COVID-19 jabs as India kicked off its free inoculation drive for all adults on 21st June. The share of doses, the government said, has risen sharply in the rural areas as the drive represented a record two-fold jump. The government has also changed the reservation protocol to get a slot for vaccination. It will not just be online anymore, and walk-in centres have also been opened across the country to ramp up the pace of the drive.
और कंसिस्टेंटली आधे से ज़्यादा जो टीके लगते रहे हैं पिछले कुछ हफ्तों में, वो भी रूरल एरियाज़ में थे। तो एक बात आज बहुत हद तक क्लियर हो जाती है कि रूरल आउटरीच पॉसिबल है।
This comes after the federal government reversed a policy for individual states and hospitals to buy vaccines for those aged 18 to 44. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Modi had said that the federal government will be providing free vaccines to all in the category of 18 to 44.
21 जून सोमवार से देश के हर राज्य में 18 वर्ष से ऊपर की उम्र के सभी नागरिकों के लिए भारत सरकार राज्यों को मुफ्त वैक्सीन मुहैया कराएगी।
Meanwhile, the recreation facilities and markets have received a further relaxation with the drop in the daily infection rate. From the first week of May, when the country recorded over 400,000 cases for successive days, the weekly caseload of the country has come down to 50,000. However, a fresh variant, the Delta variant, which has further mutated to Delta Plus, has sent a word of caution to the government, and it has been declared a variant of concern in the country. Although the current number of cases of Delta Plus variant is in few dozens, the situation could grow out of hands in few weeks, the government has warned. Experts opine if India doesn't want to re-witness the havoc it saw in April and May during the peak of the second wave, it must impose a strict COVID-compliant environment. Vaccination, they say, continues to remain the most effective weapon in prevention and spread of the disease.
Moving on, the Baloch National Movement held protests in the United Kingdom highlighting human rights violations and Pakistan's inhuman state policy of enforced disappearances. The supporters of the pro-freedom party raised concern over rising cases of extrajudicial killings and abductions of Baloch people and urged the international community to intervene. Baloch say the territory has been illegally occupied by Pakistan and they have been demanding freedom from its clutches ever since it was formed.
The Baloch National Movement UK staged a protest in London over the past weekend against the targeting of families of political and social activists in Balochistan by the Pakistan Army and intelligence agencies. They gathered in front of British Prime Minister's residence in London to highlight the rising cases of enforced disappearances in Balochistan and 12 years of the enforced disappearance of activist Dr. Deen Mohammad Baloch. They demanded the immediate withdrawal of the occupying forces from the region while urging the international community to intervene.
I was there, I was working under his leadership, and all of a sudden a news broke, Din Mohammad Baloch has been abducted. He was taken away from his hospital. He was performing his medical duty when the fascist army of Pakistan broke out and they picked him up. And since then, no one has heard a single word about him. Similarly, Zakir Majid Baloch, a student leader, he is missing for 12 long years. Ramzan Baloch, another member of Baloch National Movement, missing for over a decade. Ghafoor Baloch, missing for the same time period. And then this policy of kill and dump or the abduction and forced disappearances did not stop.
Pakistan's dubious designs of cracking down on Baloch dissent, or for that matter, any dissent, involves arresting activists on trumped-up charges and subjecting them to inhuman torture in detention centers. They are imprisoned incommunicado for an indefinite period of time. On most occasions, they never return home. There have been over 50,000 cases of disappearances in Balochistan so far. The barbarity has only gained strength with time as the establishment-backed goons attack innocents with impunity. Sindhis too, who have been enduring the state atrocities, joined in the demonstration in solidarity and urged Pakistan authority to immediately release activists who have been abducted.
ये जो हरासमेंट की पॉलिसी है, ये जो डिसअपीयरेंस की पॉलिसी है पाकिस्तानी रियासत की तरफ से, ये बलोचों के ख़िलाफ़ एक सोची समझी साजिश है। इन्होंने कंप्लीट जो सीनियर एलिमेंट्स हैं, पढ़े लिखे जो बलोच हैं, जो उनके ब्रेन्स हैं, उनको उन्होंने डिसअपीयर किया है। और डॉक्टरों को दीन मोहम्मद के हवाले से जो ये आज का प्रोग्राम है, उसको 12 साल हो गए हैं और अभी तक जो है वो लापता है। और हज़ारों के तादाद में जो है लोग जो हैं वो डिसअपीयर होते हैं और म्यूटिलेटेड उनकी बॉडीज़ फेंकी जाती हैं।
Islamabad's modus operandi has been to muzzle the voice of dissent permanently. It never pursued a legal or democratic process in any case to counter what the dissenters said. While some say the country's leadership has been baffled by an everyday decline in its reputation owing to exposures done by the activists, others believe that it is China that is controlling and directing Pakistan's actions. It doesn't want to see a politically unstable Pakistan where it is investing over $65 billion.
Moving on, the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar are struck by the double whammy of COVID lockdown and the military coup in Myanmar, the country they call their home. While their squalid shelters have been squeezed further by the restrictions imposed in the wake of the fresh infection wave, their dream of returning back has received a fresh hit with military junta taking over the country's reins.
The Rohingya misery in the camps of Cox's Bazar is only worsening by the day. As if the homelessness and poverty were not enough, the pandemic spread since last year seems to have blocked even the little chances of their repatriation. The refugee camps are under lockdown to mitigate the spread of coronavirus. However, the refugees in the world's largest settlement feel that the pandemic is diminishing international concern over their situation. A military takeover in Myanmar, they say, has only added to their miseries and they have left with nothing to look forward to in life. Jamaleda, a refugee, says she couldn't even observe the Refugee Day in solidarity with her fellow refugees as the situation has only grown grimmer.
ayadda halla junar 20 तारीख को दिन आरा पूरा दुनिया में जे दो रिफ्यूजी हकला से इन और को दिन आरा फालंग तो साय ते हन कोविड-19 और हारो ने आरा दिनी बा फालंग गोरी ना भारी ते आरा पूरा दुनिया तो आरा बिसर kan साय दो हंदिला आरा देश आना मजा आरा फिर जे बोला बोली होय और आरा जे दूर गोरी भारी ए दूर आरा सस्ता गोरी और साय रन रे आरा ला सस्ता गोरी बा बोली आशा गोरी अस्सलाम वालेकुम
This year on World Refugee Day, UNHCR, the United Nations body for refugees, in its annual report said the number of refugees was growing across the world. The total number of refugees across the world was 82.4 million at the end of 2020, and over 1 million were Rohingya only.
Burma maje war refugee de hodiba no sintam kela ara nije refugee no boni datalla to hon jeta Bangladesh ashi ara refugee boni hisabe ara life hon la jargo dian ara ekkan hosto hare bujaitam hare jahar gottam ara zindagi de pura giyo ara fuji endo zindagi ara zindagi madare giyo dian ara no sar ara fuji endo zindagi la boli ara bishi cinta gori at dua Maya Fuase, and I Rogomortoi, and Maya Fova, Idia Sarbosor, School of Dinavari, Bisha Zuashil, the area School of Dinavari, Hole, are finders in the Cannabo, are a Dun Manushase de Rohingya, inner finders in the Cannabo.
While Rohingya call Myanmar their home, they have been widely referred to as Bengali by Myanmar authorities, implying they're outsiders from Bangladesh. The Rohingya are a minority group, most of whom are denied citizenship by Buddhist majority Myanmar. Nearly 1 million of them were forced to flee the country after a militant attack on security posts prompted a severe response from the government in 2017.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in our segment called Asia Watch. Many septuagenarians of Lalitpur on Wednesday administered their final shot of Covishield after a long gap due to a shortage of vaccine doses in Nepal. Sneha Shakya took over 100-year-old grandmother to a local vaccination center for a second dose of Covishield vaccine in Lalitpur. Earlier this year, her grandmother was administered the first dose of the anti-COVID vaccine, and by the time she got her second dose, the country had witnessed 2 earthquakes and major political turmoil. Sneha's grandmother was one of the 1.4 million senior citizens who got the jabs on high-risk assessment. Even though they had to wait for about 12 weeks to get the final dose, mostly elderly people had not lost hope. Since the start of the inoculation drive early in 2021, only 8.5% of Nepal's nearly 30 million population has received its first dose, while 2.4% have got both shots. On Wednesday, Lalitpur municipality inoculated people above 77 years with the second doses from a leftover stock at various vaccination centers. It is not certain when the rest of Nepal's population will be able to get the jabs due to the prevailing political situation in the country. Since the outbreak of coronavirus in early 2020, Nepal already has seen 3 new health ministers, and final decisions about the purchase of vaccines have to be made. Out of 2.7 million COVID-19 vaccines that have been used in Nepal, most of them have been provided as aid by its neighbors. Victims of a bomb attack were treated at the hospital in Pakistan's eastern city of Lahore after the blast in a residential area killed 4 people, including a child, and wounded 14. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Among those wounded in the powerful blast were some police officers manning a checkpoint next to the house of Hafiz Saeed, the jail founder of Islamist militant group Lashkar-e-Taiba. 3 people were killed, Provincial Police Chief Inam Ghani said. A police spokesman later said a 4-year-old child had succumbed to his wounds. Some of those wounded, including children, were in critical condition. Ghulam Mustafa, with blood stains on clothes, said he brought his injured brother and 3 children to hospital, and that his brother and a 5-year-old child were in critical condition. Lashkar-e-Taiba was blamed for 2008 Mumbai attack that killed 166 people, some foreigners and Americans among them. Saeed, who runs Jamaat-ud-Dawa, a charity linked to the militant group, was sentenced in November to 10 years in jail after being found guilty on 2 charges of financing terrorism. "40 divers have removed abandoned fishing nets covering coral reefs in a protected area in the Gulf of Thailand in a 2-day operation ending. Removal of the nets by a group of volunteer divers and the Coastal Resources Research Centre, helped by the Royal Thai Navy, revealed long lines of coral bleaching inside the protected area around Koh Losin, a small rocky islet in the southern waters of the Gulf. The divers tied plastic bags filled with air to the net to get it float to the surface, carefully cutting the parts caught in the coral. The divers carried out 6 trips over the weekend to complete the operation. Diver volunteer SOS group said the nets, which were 2,750 square meter in size, had been in the area around Koh Losin, about 72 kilometers off the coast of Thailand's southern Pattani province, for a month and a half. About 640,000 tons of fishing nets end up in the ocean globally every year, becoming ghost gear, according to the United Nations. China Media Group released 2 highly quality original animation works depicting the revolutionary history of the Communist Party of China for carrying forward red genes among children and teenagers. At the ceremony in Beijing, CMG also signed several strategic cooperation agreements respectively with the Beijing Municipal Government, the Beijing Performance and Arts Group and famous children's literature writer Wu Yuzhong to create children's artworks. The 2 animations released at the ceremony tracks In the Snowy Forest and Yan's Nursery Rhymes, which will air this summer, are the recreation of classic artworks depicting the revolutionary age of the CPC, showing CPC heroes' fidelity to the party and their firm and sublime faith. Present at the ceremony is Shen Haixiong, President and Editor-in-Chief of China Media Group, who witnessed the signing of the strategic cooperation agreements. CMG has made great efforts to create animation works full of positive energy and introduced to the market a number of national animation brand images which have been widely recognized both at home and abroad. Moving on, Japan remains a major tourist attraction where visitors come to witness anime characters and famous beaches. At one side, popular animation character Gundam attracts visitors in Yokohama City. On the other side, Japanese people are enjoying hot sun bath in Ibusuki. Have a look.
Yokohama is the second most populous city in Japan, with a population of some 3.7 million people. The port area facing Tokyo Bay is an area that harmonizes the open and beautiful harbor with a history of accepting Western and Asian culture. Theme Park Gundam Factory Yokohama, featuring Japan's leading robot animation character Gundam, was opened last December near Yamashita Park. The name of this Gundam is Gundam RX-78F00. It is assumed that Gundam was found in Yokohama City in pieces such as hand and feet and was repaired to move again. On observation deck, special photo of the beautiful scenery of Yokohama City and Gundam are very unique.
非常に大きいんですけれども、小さい部分、ディテールが非常に緻密に作られてますんで、そういった部分もお楽しみいただけるんじゃないかなと思ってます。世界初の動く RX78 ガンダムをですね、ぜひ皆さんにまずは見ていただきたいと思ってます。でその上でやはりガンダムというのは、世界の人々に勇気を与えるような存在であってほしいなと、以前から思っておりますので、ぜひですね、コロナ禍ではございますが、日本に来れる、ようになりましたら、ぜひ日本に来ていただいて、世界初のこのガンダムに見て触れていただきたいと思っております。
During the sunset, the view of the port in Yokohama changes beautifully. The moving Gundam offers special view at night. It's fantastic sight that comes to mind with the backdrop of the illuminated Gundam, the sea and night view of Yokohama. Yokohama is a city full of energy where visitors can engage in unique activities. Gundam Factory Yokohama will be scheduled to open until March 2022. Enjoying hot sand bath is a unique experience in Japan. Ibusuki City in Kagoshima Prefecture is ideal for such an experience as many volcanic landforms are found here.
温泉の熱を使って砂を温めて その温めた砂を体にかける。また砂のお風呂、あったかい砂のお風呂。お願いします。一応言われてるのが、砂蒸し自体はだいたい400年以上前からやってたんじゃないかなとは言われてます。で、昔から指宿自体が温泉がすごく多くて有名だったので、西郷隆盛とかそういう昔の島津藩の人たちがここに宿を借りて温泉で疲れを癒してたんじゃないかなっていう話はあります。
すごくすっきりする。短い時間ですごくすっきりになって、で脈がドクドクなるのが分かって、で血行がすごくなんか良くなってるのが実感できる。それは温泉と違う。
There are a number of clocks lined up in the sand bath hall to remind visitors that they should not stay in the sand for more than 10 minutes so as to get the best benefits of the bath and avoid dehydration.
普通の温泉の4倍ぐらいの効果があると言われてます。肩こりとか腰痛、冷え性、体感的には42、3度ぐらいになると思います。砂蒸しはとても世界的にももうここでしかないので、なかなか珍しいものですから、ぜひ体験して感じてもらえればなと思います。
To take a sand bath, visitors can borrow a yukata, get into a sand pit and let the attendant heap sand over them. The heated sand will warm the whole body and its weight also helps in improving blood circulation. There are facilities with steam sand bath located right by the sea, and the sound of the waves relaxes the mind.
Next, we move on to our cultural section. We will take you to get soaked in the celebrations of the famous Hemis Festival of Ladakh. Celebrated in the 300-year-old Hemis Monastery, the festival is a rich representation of Ladakhi culture. Though the festival witnesses a huge crowd every year, but this time amid the pandemic, it remained a low-key affair. Have a look.
The sacred dances, tasty feasts, great hospitality and communal harmony mark the celebration of Ladakhi festivals. Hemis festival, organized in Hemis Monastery, is one of the most important Buddhist celebration in Ladakh. Held on the 10th day of the Tibetan lunar month, the two-day festival is dedicated to Lord Padmasambhava, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. On both the days, giant thangkas or Buddhist paintings are unfurled for the public. It is said that every 12th year, largest thangka is unfurled on the first day of the festival. Though every year thousands of visitors used to congregate at the cold desert city to witness this spectacular event. However, this year due to the pandemic, only a handful of locals were seen witnessing the dance performances at the monastery.
इस साल क्योंकि हिमिस इशू में हमें बहुत अंदेशा था, बहुत लोग जमा होगा, उसी फिर महामारी बढ़ने की हमें संभावना लगता था, इसलिए लोगों को कष्ट हुआ होगा, लेकिन हम लोग भी उसमें हम लोग ज़्यादा हेल्प नहीं कर पाए। तो अगले साल हम लोग उम्मीद करेंगे कि पेंडेमिक से हम निकलेंगे और हम बड़ी अच्छी तरह से जो पिछले 2 साल का जो कसर है उसको भी हम पूरा करेंगे।
Cham dance, which is performed by monks dressed in vibrant Buddhist traditional costumes, forms the main highlight of the festival. Performed at the rectangular courtyard of the monastery, it is a slow dance depicting the war between good and evil, where the good wins. The dance is accompanied by a number of musicians who play the traditional music with 4 pairs of cymbals, large pan drums, small trumpets and large-size wind instruments. The legend has it that Lord Padmasambhava defeated the dark forces with the help of Vajrayana Buddhism, and therefore this sacred mask dance shows the various magic deeds that he performed in his 8 manifestations.
ये फेस्टिवल हिमिस फेस्टिवल हिमिस शिशु के अवसर पर गुरु पद्मसंभव का इस महीने में 10वीं तारीख को इनका जन्म हुआ था। तो उनके 8 अवतार होते हैं। तो 8 अवतार का यहाँ पर लमगन नृत्य डांस करके और इसी के साथ और दूसरे मास डांस यहाँ पर अनेक होते हैं। तो हम आशा करते हैं कि इस पेंडेमिक के ये जो रोग है इसको हम जल्दी गुरु पद्मसंभव के ये आशीर्वाद से गुरु पद्मसंभव के ये उनके मंत्र को हम जप करके हम आशा करते हैं अगले साल इस हिमिस फेस्टिवल को हम दर्शकों के लिए हम खोलेंगे।
Nestled in the Himalayas, Hemis Monastery is the largest and richest Buddhist monastery in Ladakh. It belongs to the Red Brokpa sector of the Buddhist order and was built in the year 1630 under the rule of Namgyal. Hemis festival held in the monastery makes up for a jaw-dropping sight for the viewers as colorfully dressed monks bring enthusiasm in the whole crowd. Besides, it represents the rich culture and traditional heritage of Ladakh that tends to revolve around the celebration of life and rituals to ward off evil and attract peace.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Karim signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.